Mute.
What up, Grizz Nation, and welcome back to another mute session. I don't know what's happening. I don't know why it was on mute. I didn't push the button. Maybe Nate is trying to screw me over just like the Grizzlies got screwed over tonight. But you know what? We're going to get into all of that and much more as you all file in here. Let out your emotions. This is going to be a free space to kind of share a little bit of your frustrations, your feelings, but also a little bit of the Knicks fans probably kind of coming in here today because I was on the Knicks film school, the pregame show. Shout out to Andrew Claudio, who was very so kind to have me on the show. He's always one of the best guys in the Knicks side of things, but the Knicks punked the Grizzlies tonight just overall. So hopefully we'll be able to get into that, but honestly, I don't want to share too much about it because I'm pretty pissed off. So I don't want to give up too much, but as we always do, we're going to break down the show in full. Then we're going to hit a little Grizz trivia, and then we'll do a little look ahead as we look ahead to the next game against the Rockets. But that's all I have so far. But if you would, do me a favor. If you're filing in, go ahead and hit the like button if you're here in YouTube. All you have to do is drop the chat, hit that like button. We would so kindly appreciate it. It helps others know and let them share with what you're having in fun over here with Grizz 901. But if you're watching over on Twitter, join us over on YouTube. The chat's popping. I already see 70 comments, and I haven't even pushed the button to go to Nate yet. So thank you all for hanging out with us. Let's go ahead and get started. Yo, so you're sabotaging me, first of all.
I did nothing.
Somebody's sabotaging me because it always just unmutes itself automatically, but today it did not. So either way, I have no idea why I did that. But Nate, what's up, man?
I thought I'd just not do the show and get back to doing spreadsheets or something. That would be more fun tonight. But hey, here, just get it out of the way. Blade and bow, because I don't have a trashy enough whiskey to glorify the night the way it should be glorified. Should have just a bottle of straight Jack to take to the head, but I don't. So blade and bow it is. We're going to try and do it in moderation. Not going to drink because we need to, just because we want to. But I don't know. Do we have to? Yeah, we have to. Oh, my God.
And as Lauren's asking, what happened to my team? Lauren, we share the same sentiment with you as well. It looks like we have some people to talk off the ledge, so we're going to enjoy doing that. I'm going to try to be the most level-headed person, but I do have some thoughts on this game. So I'll try to stay level-headed. If you'll let me play the devil's advocate tonight, Nate, because I think you're more fired up than I am, even though I am at that point to where I'm just – I won't say I'm boiling yet. I'm close to being pissed off. So I'm not there yet, but I know a lot of our fans are, a lot of the people here within the group in the chat. So Nate, off the top, man, what's your immediate thoughts?
I mean, it's hard to even be fired up after that. It's just kind of I don't play. I shouldn't be embarrassed. They should be embarrassed. It's disgusting basketball. I just got done. I went to the chiropractor today because I'm old. And he's a big Jazz fan, and I just got done telling him about how despicable his team is and how gross it was to watch his team play basketball. I mean, good thing I didn't go back for a couple weeks. Got a chance for this to not be in his recent memory. I mean, dude, let's just get to one thing really quick.
Let's do it.
The Grizzlies against top 4 teams in their respective conferences are 3-6. One of those games was against the Celtics. Good win. Legitimately good win.
The only good win this season.
The other ones were against the Bucks and Nuggets when they still sucked. You've lost all the other ones. And then if you expand it to just playoff teams, so top 6 teams, not play-in teams, you are 6-9. So it still is complete. You're 3-3 against the other teams who you would consider, middling, right? 4 through 6 outside of, let's say, Nuggets, Bucks is not great, right? It's not good. It's not. They are not good enough, which I know we all enjoyed the winning streak. I'm not saying that you shouldn't, but They come back against a team with the pulse, and it just, he just got dominated, dude. Dominated. And it keeps happening.
Yep. It doesn't make sense. And that's kind of where I'm at is like the Grizzlies, they fold. And before, like I didn't see that in years past. Okay. And so today I was on the Knicks film school talking to them about everything. And we were asking, like, how do you beat the other team? Like, how do you see the Grizzlies beating the Knicks or the vice versa, or how, what's the best way to go against them? And honestly, there's just so many things that I look at that Knicks team is they're going to have to beat themselves in a sense, not because they're that good, but because they know who they are, and they stay in their lane and they kind of play that direction. Now, is that because they play 35 to 40 minutes a game for their starters? Maybe. And you can blame that part on the coach if you want here on the Grizzlies side, because maybe he's, playing the 11, maybe 12 guys rotation doesn't make sense. It never has, it never will. That's what he's doing. For whatever reason, they have a 31-16 record, 15 games above 500 still. It's showing that it works. The only problem is it's not working against the good teams. And that's where I'm pissed off about is the Grizzlies give up. And it doesn't make sense. Like, Ja Morant is the leader on this team, and he looks like if he gets a bad whistle, he's done. But honestly, that Ja Morant is not the same Ja Morant that I that I watched grow up right before our eyes, because I'm old AF. But I just don't understand why he's that way. And I'm not going to say the stupid thing that I said a long time ago. But my God, like there's something not there. There's something missing. And I don't know what it is, but he just folds. And that's not the leader that you can have on a contending team. You're only going to be as good as your best player. You're only going to give the most effort as your best player. Jaren isn't that guy. Jaren isn't the vocal guy on this team. It's Ja Morant. Jaren has been the best player on this team. He is currently the best player on this team, but he's not the vocal leader. He's not the leader in the locker room. I don't care what anybody says. Until they get a vet in here that's really good, then they're never going to be able to overtake that from Ja. They can go with him, but they can't overtake Ja. Ja's always going to be that leader. If Ja gives up, this team gives up, and it's done. So I want to see a fight from him, because I haven't seen it really all year.
Yeah, it's as simple as that. Ja Morant has to believe he is second to no one for this team to be what it needs to be. And he clearly doesn't think that right now.
Yeah.
I think he wants this to be Jaren's team.
What? That doesn't make sense.
Why? He said it multiple times.
It would be like
Jaren's the best player on the team multiple times.
Dude, okay, let me give everybody an illustration, okay? I think everybody likes you more than me currently on this show, Nate. That's just the truth.
Currently?
I'm saying just any show on this brand, the Grizz that I want. I think people prefer you over me, and I'm okay with that. But you're effing wrong if I'll ever say that you're the leader or the best person on here. You'll never get that from me ever in my life, right? Because this is kind of a brand we both started. But hey, honestly, I'm in the driver's seat most of the time. I'm never going to give that up to anybody. There's no way Ja Morant will ever realistically say that he is that guy and that dude, and he's going to pass that off to Jaren. Dude, if he is the gamer, if he's the guy that grew up jumping in and out of tires and growing up on the backside in South Carolina and doing all that and growing up in the mud, you're never going to do that. Like, you're never going to give up that spot. Like, you have to pull me out scratching and clawing. And I think Ja's the same way. So I think that's wrong, even though I know you disagree, but I just still think that's wrong.
And yet we watch the games.
I agree on that part.
No. And I see people saying like they're mad. He's mad at Jaren. He's jealous of Jaren. And I don't think that's the case. I just think he's deferring. I think he's deferring all the time. And you can't have Ja Morant be deferential. You can't. You cannot have it. Ja is the fire that makes the engine go.
It is.
He is. Everybody follows his energy, like you were saying. but he defers, and he's looking for a whistle. Which, let's get one thing out of the way: Ja Morant is blackballed by the league. Like that's really not up for debate at this point. It's pretty clear. I'm not sure if it's Adam Silver or it's just the refs hate him. Which, quite frankly, if I was a ref, I might hate Ja too. But regardless, they have a job to do and they don't do it well. Whatever it is, he's clearly blackballed by the league. But like the Grizzlies and Knicks shot the same amount of free throws tonight. Yeah. It's not like the whistle was awful against Memphis as a whole. The first drive of the game, I saw exactly what we were going to get tonight. Ja got all the way to the bucket for something he never misses, but he looked for contact.
Yeah.
Like it's so in his head, and he plays so passive until it's not in his head. And that's the difference between years 1, 2, 3 Ja and right now. Is years 1, 2, and 3, they didn't get the whistle. He's like, okay, we'll watch this then. And he's going to go and he's going to make some kind of play where you can never not blow the whistle, and he's going to put it in the bucket. And now it's just all in his head. Like Ja's got to get out of his own head.
I think that's what it's all about. Head.
But with that, I do think he is deferring. He's like, Jaren is the best player on his team right now. Because there's no doubt Ja can get in his feelings and getting in his head. And if he gets in his feelings and getting in his head, that's going to be where he goes, like, man, I'm not the best player on this team anymore. Jaren is. 100% that's something you could see him thinking and saying.
Yeah.
Now, 100% is something you can see him snapping out of me like, no, I'm Ja Morant.
But why? Yeah, it's going to take him doing that, though.
Yeah. We're in agreement. I do not disagree with you on that. But if you want to talk about where he is mentally right now, he's clearly not where he was. And he's completely in his head about it. He doesn't go to the mid-range anymore. He doesn't float the ball ever. He does not shoot floaters anymore. By the way, you saw what he did when he did. He beat the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Yeah.
Like you saw that happen, right? But he doesn't get to it. He's just trying to get to the bucket and draw a foul, or he's trying to go and create for Jaren or Dez or someone else right now.
Yeah.
Like he's not playing like he can, and it's all in his head. The whistle is not there. Like that's a given. The whistle is not there for him, but he is in his head, and maybe he's just trying to save himself for the playoffs. But I think he's in his head about it.
Yeah, but I think they're soft in general. Like this team doesn't have.
Oh yeah, I thought we were going to get there eventually.
Yeah, this team doesn't have an enforcer at all. Like Zach Edey wants to be an enforcer. That's cool. He's a rookie though. In the end of the day, I know that he kind of took up for Ja, and that's great and everything. But you need to have an enforcer that, when you're getting fouled and you're not getting some calls, maybe you lay it on them pretty good. And then you tell the rep, that's how we're getting hit. Like you blow somebody up and not in a dirty way. You get the ball, but you're also going to take their body into the first or second row with the ball. And that's okay. It might get you thrown out of the game. But the problem is this team being so soft, you can get ready for the playoffs and you can do all these things to set yourself up the right way in the regular season. But when the playoffs come, it's going to be like that times 10, if not times 20. And they're not ready for it. They haven't shown that they can win a big game or a game that's very much in the mud. And so this team needs a vet to do things like this. And honestly, and I know Jenkins is more of a fire. There's a lot you can do as a coach, but sometimes when it's that bad, dude, you're looking for stuff to figure out. And I promise you, it is tough to figure out when everybody, especially your best player, has a minus 41 in 27 minutes. It's just god-awful disgusting.
Anyone has their children with them, I need you to go ahead and say so in the chat. All right, I need to know that because I got some stuff cooking in the back of my mind. If you have your children listen to the show, I don't want to ask you to put them to bed or anything like that. So put it in the chat if your children are here.
Just change your phrasing.
That's what I'm going to do for a minute, and then we're going to see if the chat says they have their children.
Well, it's still people watch it, but
okay. No, I understand. Just saying. Yeah, I was super mad when the first time I saw Jake LaRavia coming to the game tonight. Let's just be super clear about that. Like at first I was like, what is Taylor doing? But dude, there's nothing Nothing Taylor Jenkins can do about that. Nothing. It's why you guys hear me come in here and just keep saying, we need crazy people on the team. We need psychopaths on the team. It's why when you hear the Jazz are most likely to trade John Collins, I'm like, Kleinman, do your thing. Let Danny Ainge think that he swindled you and then go ruin another franchise. Just let him do it. It's okay. Go get you John Collins. Get you some psychopaths that aren't going to let stuff like this happen. Get you some guys who are, once that starts happening, they're like, okay, I'm going to get suspended for 3 games. Because I'm just going to knock somebody out just because. Go get someone who's going to do what Drew Eubanks did to Zach Edey the other night. Like, you need that. And listen, for all the stuff, I thought I was going to get on here and make fun of all the Edey victory lappers who've been talking about how good he'd been doing the past 3 games against the most ass team in the leagues. By the way, the fact that we saw the Hornets, Pelicans, and Jazz back to back to back, and there is a team worse than all 3 of those teams still that we haven't seen, is very sad. Washington, God bless you guys. If you're still a Washington Wizards fan, like, seek help, but also we're very proud of you for sticking through it.
Just give up.
No, don't. Stay strong. We admire you. But I would I would get into shuffleboard or something for the weekends or darts. Darts is a good one. And everybody's victory lap. I was like, okay, I'm going to come on here and be like, oh, look what happened when we played a team with a pulse. But instead, I got to deal with the rest of it because the entire team was terrible. Jaren was not great tonight, even though the numbers look, but he was much more solid than the rest of the team. If he'd had other guys around him, then he could have figured it out. But when you're the only one, it's terrible. Let's go. The comments are coming too fast to keep up.
I couldn't find them.
I'm with you,
Keith, I'm gonna interrupt real quick. Keith, this might be my favorite thing of the night. Ladies, go marry a Wizards fan because you know he's gonna be loyal.
We got our show title. Wow. Go marry a Wizards fan. But like, you just look around and you're like, the team isn't good enough. No. But it's not just the team is good enough. There's an attitude and a swagger that's missing, and that comes from Ja Morant. I've already seen the Dylan comments tonight. He's got 36 points in a Rockets win. Dylan was a fire in the locker room. If you don't have Ja Morant leading the charge, this team isn't going where it needs to go.
No.
It's as simple as that. So I know we've got plenty more to talk about outside of Ja Morant for this game, and we will get to it. But the fact of the matter is, if Ja doesn't get going, if Ja doesn't get himself right and start looking like Ja Morant, this team can never get where it wants to be. And I don't know what that is. I think clearly he's in his head, but if you want to say it's the offense and it's all this ISO ball instead of getting him on high screen, whatever. If that's the reason, if he's just mad at the officials, whatever it is, then you can say what it is. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, just figure it out. Just looking at the stats, just overall, like the fact that Ja had, I believe it was zero assists at halftime. I believe. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I know early into the second he had 0 assists. That can't happen. And I know the Grizzlies, like if you look at the total, the turnovers, there's 26-11. Points off of the turnovers were 36.
It's disgusting.
Like that can't happen. Okay. And no matter what you want to point the fingers to is, so Drew, tell me, 0 assists and 3 turnovers at half is for Ja. And so that's really where it comes down to is when this offense, this communist offense, as Drew Gam from the $2 Sports Show of Tuesdays and Thursdays at noon here at Bluff City Media. It's live just like it's live here. And guess what tomorrow is? It's Tuesday. So they're going to be coming off hot for sure. So tune in noon Central. So make sure you tune into them. But yeah, it's very much the offense that if you can't have a facilitator, which Ja is a facilitator, just like D'Angelo Quinn's saying, he is a facilitator. If you don't have your facilitator facilitating, so many F words that I want to say besides those two, like it's a problem with this offense, because what's happening is there's no action other than the passing, the dribble drive, and the kick. That's it. That's all the offense is. The only motions is that. And if you're having trouble kicking the ball out because for whatever reason the defense is overplaying or maybe just not allowing you to get to the front of the rim, then that's the issue. And then the Grizzlies at one point, I know getting close to halftime, I looked at it, there were 2 of 7 from 3-point. So you're not getting to the front of the rim like you want. You're kicking it out and you're losing the ball. We can't have any 3-pointers. We're 2 of 7, which is fine. We can't figure out a way to go and get up more shots from 3. Just does not make sense. I don't love this offense. We've seen this offense in so many different games at high level, and it doesn't make sense how this team is playing. And so I really think that there's an issue with the offense in these high leverage games. And so I'm curious if this offense need to be completely retooled to the point of keep the fast pace and keep the spacing, but there should still be some actions that benefit our best players because that hasn't happened just yet.
Yep. And I know we're going to get to Titan MVP. Thank you for putting that in here for us. But before we do that, Astronomo, when he takes a break from crashing out, hence have some really good points. I don't think you need Ja the facilitator. You need Ja the dominator.
Mm-hmm.
Like you need Ja that takes over the game and dominates because that's where his best facilitating comes from. When you have 4 guys crashing on him because he's been unstoppable and you have to send 3 or 4 guys because you're so afraid of what he's going to do to you next. That's when he's at his best. That's when he facilitates the rest of the team. And it's when the rest of the team starts getting in a rhythm because they're like, oh, dude, look at what Ja's doing. And everybody starts feeling good. So Ja the facilitator extends from Ja the dominator.
Yep.
He has to get there. So anyways, I know you want to bring up Titan MVP's comment because
I do. And right. Better days ahead. Yeah, better days ahead. Shout out to you, one of my guys with the coaching company, but also Weekend Wagers. He's my betting guy. Honestly, a guy that I trust over a lot of others, especially as a nerd. Keep him close as I can because I am not a nerd and I like to have smart people around me. But the drive and kick offense, it has no longevity in the playoffs, and that's true. Like I'm telling you, it's more of the on ball. And you're going to go up against teams like Houston that we're going to see very soon, but also like New York. They make you go one-on-one and they make you beat their player and they give a little help at the rim, but there's not a lot of help. They just on ball stop you. And so I think we're going to see that. That's why I think that you've seen it back to Karl Malone and John Stockton. We saw it all the way back to the honestly, the triangle offense. There's a reason that a lot of these had worked for so long. And why this offense has looked good at times. The problem is it doesn't always look good, especially when the game slows down. So just want to get that out there because I think that's very spot on. But Titan MVP, thank you for your their super chat. But my favorite player is Ja is shrinking to competition. And it's just too much complaining now. I agree. And if you want to see your comment up here, I promise you, if you put up a super chat, we'll make sure we hit yours no matter what your question or comment is. I agree with this. Do you think that Ja's complaining way too much right now?
Yeah. Yeah, dude.
But do you think it's taking him out of his game?
Yes. Ja Morant is not having fun playing basketball.
Okay.
I think it's as simple as that. He is not having fun playing basketball. And if he's not having fun playing basketball, he's not playing well. Like, you have to enjoy playing the game. And he's not enjoying playing the game. Instead, he's in his head about what he's mad about, whether it's he's not getting calls or, I don't know, maybe he's just miserable. Maybe he's just miserable about basketball. It's just become a job to him. I don't know. Like, there could be a number of things going on. I think it's mostly like he thinks he's getting blackballed by the league. And by the way, I think he is. Like, maybe not the league. Maybe it's just the refs. But regardless, he's in his head about what isn't going his way instead of what he think could go his way and what he can do about it. Like said at the very beginning of the show, he just, instead of like saying, okay, you're not going to make that call for me. F you. I'm going to make it where you doesn't even matter what you do anymore. Yeah. He's just kind of like, man, I can't get a call, whatever. F this, you know? Yep. Same thing. He's in his head about it. He can get out of his head about it. But until he does, and he starts enjoying playing the game again and being the aggressive Ja, doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well, I agree. And I think that's the biggest thing with him is one, listen, there's Knicks fans here. By all means, Knicks kicked the Grizzlies' butts tonight. I agree. some people are still don't understand. Whatever. I'm gonna let it go. I'm gonna pass on. But listen, if you're a Knicks fan, thank you for hanging out with us. Love it. If you want to like rub our nose in the dirt, I'm cool with that too. Being an idiot, feel free to do that, but just leave our show if you're going to be an idiot. I'm fine with that too. But overall, I do think that Ja he has to find what really is going to motivate him, but unlock him. Like it has to be more in his head right now, and I understand that. But if he doesn't figure it out between his ears, then he's never going to be a high level player that he thinks he's going to be. He looks a little more unathletic than he did 2-3 years ago when he was showing off his athleticism. And I wonder if he's trying to figure out like, hey, I don't want to I don't want to figure, I don't want to get hurt. I can't put myself in those predicaments. That's fine too. But there's other ways to develop yourself. And so that's where I still have not seen that mid-range game that he really had, that he unlocked a couple of years ago that I felt like he was getting better at. And then it went backwards. And I know this has been a different offense, but it still thinks that he's still a problem within himself. He can't motivate him. I don't know what it is. And so I know we're talking a lot about Ja at just overall, but it just seems like he has to figure it out for him internally. Until he does, I think this team is going to be, honestly, the ceiling is very low for this team. I think the floor is pretty high, but I also think the ceiling is low. I think that they're going to have to figure out where they want to be going forward because right now they're struggling. But yeah, Walter White. Listen, I'm cool with this. Before you go ahead, Knicks fan here. I didn't come to gloat, just checking the temperature. No, by all means, I love that, and I love coming to hang out and seeing what the other fans or the other shows are saying about your team because I'm big on that too. I want to know, and we talked about that today, of finding out that hey, the other side thinks our coach is good. I think Tom Thibodeau's good, right? And they think Tom Thibodeau sucks. A lot of them do. So every team has their issues on both sides. It's always enlightening when you can see other fan bases just as crazy as your fan base. And so everybody wants their coach fired when they lose, and nobody ever like gets onto the actual players. But overall, I enjoy Knicks fans, Grizzlies fans, whoever. I just like to talk ball. So anyway, go ahead, Nate.
Every team that didn't just win the championship hates their coach, by the way.
100%.
So 29 out of 30 teams despise their coach. So that's how that goes. But like, listen, if you're putting tonight on Taylor Jenkins, like, I don't know, you are doing some mental gymnastics to put on Taylor Jenkins tonight after what we just watched. But yeah, man, it's the good news is that's the kind of loss and they have to wait till Thursday to play again. So they're thinking tonight, tomorrow, Wednesday, and all day Thursday about the ass whooping they just got in the Garden. And like they need it. They need to come to Jesus. Like honestly, I think they needed this much more than they needed a win. You've beat one of the best teams in the league this year. You've got the we can hang with these teams win against the Celtics earlier this year. Like there's no doubt that this team, when they're, I still think they need vets. They need more physical players to really do it at a consistent level. But you've shown you can beat the best of the best on their home floor. You've done that this year. You need a come to Jesus moment that says like, hey, like what we're doing isn't going to fly. The coaching staff has to look at themselves after this loss. The players have to look at themselves after this loss. The front office has to look at themselves after this loss and figure out, all right, what we got going ain't going to cut it. So what's going to happen? Right? Because it's like, I mean, it got completely out of hand. There were some outliers in this, but it didn't matter what you did, like what you did normally. That team came out and just brought it to you.
Yep.
They needed that come to Jesus, and there's a chance that come Thursday night, they come out looking like a completely different team. Like that's the good news. The good news is it's one loss, and it could be a come to Jesus moment. And all of a sudden you go and you're like, hey, like, yo, that woke this team up. They decided, hey, that's not happening again. That's not who we're going to be. The other side of that is to come out and let it happen again on Thursday. If it happens again on Thursday, we're going to pour more than one out for the homies. Let's just put it that way.
I think this team is more likely to lay an egg on Thursday night when they play the Rockets King Meeks at home on TNT. I think it's more likely they lay an egg Thursday night than actually show up and make some changes and play with some aggression. I promise you, and just like Austin's saying right here, you can't change your DNA. And I think that's what it's all about. Is I don't know if this loss is as big of a slap in the face as we might think it is as fans. Like, you wear it really hard, and you honestly you look at the film and you work to get better. But I don't know if the Rockets we are the worst against the Rockets. So I honestly don't know if they're ready and able to move on just yet. And so I could be completely wrong, but I just really think that this fan base, like Chris is saying, this fan base will crash out Thursday if they lose. I promise you that
I'll crash out.
I have a better feeling that they will lose and they would win, personally. Just because, not that I'm down this team, I don't think they have the mental capacity yet to get over it for themselves. I don't care what the coaching staff or whatever trades they make. As long as your best player is who your best player is and he can't figure it out for himself, then this team can't get but so far. And so I really think that this team's going to have trouble. The matchup is the worst in the world to go against because they make you play even more one-on-one basketball and less help than the New York Knicks do. And so it's going to have to be one-on-one, and their offense isn't set up to be one-on-one. Like, it's not. They want to do dribble drive, but they also want to kick mainly. And so I don't know. But Tiffany's saying they better not let the Rockets sweep them. That would be 3.
I disagree. I think they come out and they say, to hell with this offense. You're going to set high screens, and Ja Morant's just going to murder you in the paint all night. I disagree. I don't think they lay an egg. Now, if they do, I am the fan base. Like, you just may see my apartment on fire if they get beat like they did tonight against the Rockets. And to be clear, I don't think no matter what happens, no matter what happened tonight, no matter what happens Thursday night, damn the winning streak they were just on. I've always thought they need to make a move. And thank God you're finally hearing about John Collins. Like, I don't know where that talk has been for forever, but glad that's happening because I think the Grizz should get in on that for sure. But
we normally don't hear anything from the Grizzlies.
All beside the point. Thursday night, I would expect this team to say, like, no, we're not letting that happen again. Like, this team has been weak-minded for the past month and a half, right? They have been weak-minded. They have not executed against the best teams. They keep turning the damn ball over, like every other possession, which is insane. After we just got done talking about how Desmond Bane had such a great on-the-ball game, he comes and just throws it to the crowd like 17 times. Not 6, actually. It's 6. Exactly 6 turnovers, which should sound like an exaggeration, but it's not. That doesn't mean that's who they like. We have seen who Ja Morant can be. We have seen who Desmond Bane can be. Like, you have seen these guys step up when it matters. You've got to flip the switch. And so, for some reason, the switch has flipped the opposite direction. And they have just played Charmin soft against all these good teams. So who knows what it has to be, but they have it in them. Like, this is not Ja Morant has not been a guy who lays down his entire career.
I agree, and honestly, I agree that he doesn't lay down. But as you were talking about earlier, you're saying he's saying, "Hey, Jaren, this is your team," and keeps pushing it to him. Nobody that's a natural born leader ever just allows you to take the torch from them, and like nobody does. Like, that doesn't happen. You just don't say, "Hey, I'll give you the torch." Even though I'm still in my prime, I'm going to hand over the torch. Nobody does that. Nobody.
Yeah, but, dude, it's the same thing. We talked about this in circles already tonight. Dude can absolutely get into his head. We've seen him get into his own head. It's not like it's something completely new. But we also seen him get out of his own head and go and just dominate on the basketball court. He absolutely can.
Yep, no doubt. Well, Canary Sauter says that they are kids. Yes and no. If Jaren wants to get on a show and say that we're not going to do the dancing around that OKC is doing now that we used to do, that they completely copied and are doing exactly what the Grizzlies did 2 years ago. But we're not going to do that because we have vet swag now. Like we're the vets now. We're going to be a little bit more chill, but we're also going to have some swag to us and do all that. There hasn't been swag unless it's a terrible team that they're going up against. And I just don't, I don't know. Tonight wasn't anything the New York Knicks did just in general. The Knicks played very well basketball. I don't think they played their best game of the year. I really just think that the Grizzlies made so many dumb mistakes within themselves that really allowed that to get the way it did. But all in all, I'll give a little bit of love, to the Knicks. Karl-Anthony Towns, no matter how much I hate him, I'd like to punch him in the face. Like, he is a number one punchable face guy in the league. Maybe two. Draymond's up there. But Karl-Anthony Towns is playing the best basketball I think I've ever seen him play. He's the greatest fit for their team overall, because he's really the only one that can do anything kind of for himself and kind of, take you off the dribble. And he's kind of a mismatch than Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson is very good, on the dribble, able to throw up some, trash in there. And he honestly makes it look good. But overall, I do think that this New York Knicks team, who their fan base, they haven't beaten a lot of people either that are really good. And so this was a measuring stick game for them. So they should feel much better about themselves. I have a lot of questions about that Knicks team, because I think OG, who is very on ball, he's too streaky to knock down a bunch of threes. Mikal Bridges, who he looks like that robot that shoots the 3-pointer. And I didn't realize that he had that shot 2 years ago. But that when the robot's on. But when it's not, it looks horrible. He shoots like what's the Grizzlies guy who doesn't shoot 3-pointers very good? We traded him nice with the Golden State Warriors.
Kyle Anderson.
He looks like Kyle Anderson shooting. It's horrible. Anyway, but yeah, shout out to the Knicks. I'll give them some love, but they definitely kicked the Grizzlies' tail tonight. But I think we obviously have so much more to talk about. Before we keep getting into it, little reset. We are Grizz 901. If you want to check us out, we're here on Bluff City Media. So if you're over on Twitter, come join us over at Bluff City Media. Just look up the live. We're there at Grizz 901. If you're here, go ahead and do me a favor. Hit that like button. Drop the chat. Hit the like button. And if you want to get something up here for us to see or read, I'd love to make sure we have everybody and try to do as much as we can. But sometimes when there's this many people, which is our biggest number of the season so far, honestly, just hit up a what is it called, a super chat thing, whatever, and I promise you we'll get to it. I don't know what they cost, I don't know what they are, but yeah, hit them and we'll make sure we get to any questions or comments that you have. But let's kind of put a bow on this. Let's spend a couple more minutes and we'll be done. Talking about the bench, anything you saw on the bench, good, bad, and different tonight?
Probably the only thing that looked good tonight. Like, I don't know. Luke Kennard looked good in his minutes. I mean, defensively, he can't keep up with that team but the rest of the team was doing. Like, the rest of the team has to defensively be locked in for you to play Luke Kennard against a team like that, and the rest of the team was anything but locked in defensively. But he still looked aggressive, getting to his spots. Santi looked good in his minutes. BC looked, I thought, really good in his minutes, actually. I thought he did a ton for you. I was surprised he only got 17 minutes tonight, because I thought he was all over the floor doing a ton of good things for you. GG continues to have flashes, but look a step slow for sure. So it's one of those where it's like you need him over LaRavia in that kind of game, because LaRavia is just not going to be able to keep up. Same as Kennard defensively, but he doesn't provide the offense. But outside of that, man, like, sort of same old. I didn't think there's anything fantastic outside of Brandon for the bench. I didn't think there's anything terrible on the bench either. Yeah, I mean, it just came down to your best players didn't play well.
Yeah.
So
that's what I think it comes down to, for sure. But everybody Mr. Letters wants you buy a vow. Wants him to say Yahoo. He's proud of Brunson tonight, so shout out to you and your Knicks.
Dude, you way better than Ja tonight. Like, I don't know, like, I got nothing for you. Listen, he smoked Ja tonight.
Like your thoughts on Kennard, Santi, GG, guys off the bench. And I'll give you my thoughts, I guess, first. Go Kennard, Santi, GG off the bench is fine for the regular season. But my issue is they're very much all very similar. And I know you'll get, Vince Williams back at some point, and he's less similar to them. But my God, it just feels like there's so much inconsistency. It's hard to really put out the right player at the right time, because who do you put out? And so that's the only thing that worries me as well, is Santi sometimes can disappear, and sometimes he's playing great, especially up against the lesser of the teams that get up into yourself. But I don't know if Kennard's that guy. He's very much a specialist, and we have not seen GG look good, really, really, truly good all season. He's looks fine, but my issue is they're very much they all play the same way, and they're very inconsistent.
Yeah, you need an upgrade.
Okay.
You need an upgrade desperately. And I still I'm surprised that I don't see people thumping for John Collins more than they are for Cam Johnson. Quite honestly. Do people know that John Collins is shooting over 40% from 3 this year? No. Am I the only one who knows that? Me and Chris, I'm sure. Chris has always loved John Collins. Yeah, but are we the only ones? Are we the only ones? Because he also defends at a high level, rebounds at a high level. I mean, the dude plays freaking center. He can go anywhere from small forward to center for you. He has positional versatility. He's a lob threat, which would be a lot of fun for this team because you don't have any now. You need an upgrade like that. So, not to say Cam Johnson's not an upgrade, but I would prefer John Collins, but Cam Johnson's out there as well. Mitchell Robinson should be coming back from injury sometime soon, which apparently everyone hates him because he gets hurt. But I'm like, okay, I don't hate him. I think he's awesome at basketball. I'd love to have someone awesome at basketball playing. You need an upgrade for sure. Yeah. But listen, if we want to put a bow on this, I think Keith has it perfect. I think it sums up everything about tonight and about when we play these good teams this season. The Grizzlies are waiting for the respect and wondering why they don't get it instead of deciding we're going to be in hunter-killer mode. Yep. You can see that. You can see it play out. Now, I'm sure part of it is they're saying, hey, we're mature now. We're vets. We can't just be goofing around like we have in the past. We're trying to win something big at the end of the year. But, dude, you don't just all of a sudden, find your swag because the playoffs started. Yeah. That's not how that works. The same thing we talked about a few games ago. You build habits, right? You build habits with how many minutes you play. You build habits with how you play game in and game out. And you definitely build habits with how you approach the game and how you mentally lock in and decide how you're going to play the game. And listen, maybe after the All-Star breaks when they decide to flip the switch and everything's fine, but it hasn't been fine so far. And I think Keith summed it up perfectly.
No, I like that. That was a good way to put a bow on it. At least for the game discussion as a whole, we're gonna keep going on at least for another 15 or so minutes, just kind of talking through a little bit of things that they could have done, things that didn't go right, but also moving forward and how do they kind of get out of their own way. I was gonna do something different in the third segment. The Grizzlies are looking ahead to the Thursday night TNT game against the Rockets. Okay. Everybody has seen the Rockets this year. There's nothing that we can really talk about it. Okay. So let's move past the look ahead and let's kind of look further ahead a little bit into trades. And so we do have already one question that's come up from King Meeks asking about a trade. So do me a favor, put in there hashtag ask whatever, hashtag ask Nate, ask Daniel, whoever, whatever. That way I can see it. And then we'll try to go ahead and put a star on it so we can get back to it. But what I'm going to do now is we're going to go to Grizz Trivia. We're going to do that for a couple minutes. And then I want to come back. And then I'm going to ask, me and Nate will talk through a bunch of trades that you all think that could be possible, whether it's guys that you think the Grizzlies should go after, if it's guys that you've seen, maybe a trade that you've already built up yourself. things that we want to look at. We'll look at it together and kind of work through a little bit of the details. We've already done it kind of before, but I think there could be other guys that other people see. So we'll look at it. We'll discuss all of the actual numbers around everything and everything that surrounds, because we are getting closer and closer to the trade deadline. So instead of looking ahead at the Rockets, we're going to look ahead a little bit further to the trade deadline. But King Meeks, this is for you. All right, a little positivity from this past weekend.
Yeah.
So with Grizz trivia, this is in franchise history. Desmond Bain, Zach Edey, Jaren Jackson Jr., Ja Morant, and Jalen Wells, every starter from this past Saturday's game, they all made multiple three-pointers. How many times has every starter made multiple three-pointers in the same game?
I don't know. 3? I'm going to say 3. It's 1 to 3 because out of the guys you start, it's usually Clark or Edey. So you're banking on the 1 with Edey, maybe 2 with Edey, and then I would say maybe 1 with like Santi or something like that. So I'm going to say 3.
You know it's not just this year, right? I'm saying franchise history.
Oh, no. I did not know his franchise history.
Well, I don't know. Okay, hold on one second.
That's way too many. That's too many
franchise history. Franchise history.
See every starter made multiple three-pointers in the game. Oh, it's actually blocked by the live thing. So, no, I didn't see that. But I see the end of it now. Okay. I see.
Oh, sorry.
I say Issa history. That's what I see.
Sorry, those numbers, because everybody, there's so many people watching, it bleeds over into our screen. So you all can't see it. Yeah, you all can't see it, but we see that anyway.
Yeah. Okay.
While you're doing that, I told my daughter I would share this.
Every starter.
So my daughter was able to go to Build-A-Bear this past week, and she made a bear, and so all her friends decided that her bear would be famous because it's coming on my show tonight. So she put it back there, wants to make sure she was in the screen. Figured I'd show this through Grizz trivia. But the name on this bear, first name's Ja, middle name Morant, last name Greer.
Ja Morant Greer.
I was not in attendance, but it has a bow. I'm sorry, it has a she put a bow for a bow tie. So anyway,
the bear sad.
Thought y'all would enjoy it.
It's the bear sad.
Yeah.
Don't let the bear be sad. Oh, that's pretty adorable. I don't know. I'm still tempted to say 1 to 3. I will.
All right, so we have some out here. So Tiffany, Lauren said 4. Tiffany said
5.
6. King Meek 6, maybe 5. Then he says 2. He doesn't know where he's going.
I'm gonna say 7. I'm gonna say 7. But part of me still wants to say 3. I'll say
give
7.
me your final answer.
7.
Sir.
My final answer is 7.
The question is, the 5 starters this past Saturday's game against Utah all made multiple three-pointers, so 2 or more. How many times has every starter made multiple three-pointers in a game? And the answer is 3.
No!
You should have stuck with your first
answer. I blew it. I got in my head. I blew it. I had it, and I just let it out of my grasp. Goodness gracious.
When you said 3 initially, I had to figure out a way to get you off of thinking 3, so you would be wrong.
You cheated. I win. Yeah, I win. Daniel cheated. He's a cheater. Despicable.
Yeah, so it has been 3. It has been 3 times. And my next question there. This is a bonus question. So out of the 3 times it's happened, only one guy on this team that was in those starting 5 has done it all 3 times. Can you name that player?
Jaren.
It is Jaren.
Yeah.
That would be an easy one. But yeah, that's
2 for 2. 2 for 2. You cheated.
Yeah, I definitely did. I definitely tried to persuade you.
He cheated. It's
to get away from it.
They're just cheating left and right.
All right, so if you got questions, Marcus is trying to get that bear from me. I can't give you that bear. That's Miss Penelope's bear. I can't take it from her.
I got to point it out. Josh joined us late. Josh, you're gonna have to re-listen to the show tomorrow. Subscribe on YouTube. Watch it on YouTube because you'll get to see facial expressions in conjunction. But yeah, we talked about it a lot to start the show. None of us are sure. There's hope, but it feels dim. It feels like a dim hope. That's okay. That's all Frodo had, and that worked out. So, anyways, Josh, you have to re-listen to the show later.
Yeah, pretty bad. But yes, Josh, we definitely did hit on that. Probably too much. Like I literally kept wanting to move the show forward, and it just felt like it wasn't right. I feel like we still had things to talk about. So, either way, it is. We definitely hit on it, and thank you for everybody for hanging out with us so far. So let's look at something different. So I know we always do the look ahead. If it's your first time here, we always have a look ahead that Ryan provides us as we look ahead to the next game. The next game's Thursday against the Rockets. We played them twice already. My God, like let's not. I don't want to play the Rockets again, but we do, and it is on national TV. Which who knows what can go wrong, but there's no reason to think about the Rockets. So let's look at other stuff. So if you have a question, go ahead and hit it in here. If you want to put a super chat, make sure we hit it. I promise you we will get to whatever question you have. But if you could, I want to ask about the trades. Any guy that you're wanting to look at, any guy you want us to look at, any trade you want to provide us, and we'll break it down if we think it's a good thought overall. But King Meeks has a question. And he put in there, hashtag ask Nate. If you were Zach Kleiman and you got two trades, what trades do you do? And way you can do whatever you want. Like, so what exactly, if you're giving two wishes, right? Mm-hmm. What are the two different trades, two guys that you're going to go get?
Okay. I'm not Keith Smith, NBA, so don't ask me about contracts. But if I could do two, I would. I'm going to cheat a little bit on this because it's two players, but it's one trade, and so it counts as one. I'm going and getting Collins and Sexton from the Jazz, which if you listen to the show at all, like that's not a surprise to you. That was happening. But that's only one trade. This is one team. So ha ha ha. I win. You will never get this. You will never get this. Step number two is going to New York and getting Mitchell Robinson.
Okay.
That's it.
But how can you get all those guys?
I told you I'm not Keith Smith NBA. Like I told you this. Don't ask me about contracts. Yeah. It was the prerequisite for me answering this question. I mean, that was it. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't even know what Mitchell Robinson's contract is. I think Sexton's is right at 20, like just under or just over. John Collins is above 20. So I don't know if you can make those contracts work unless you're giving up Smart and Kennard plus probably like Asante or BC. Right? So would that contract make it work? You know contracts way better than I do.
Yeah, so keep me. So I'm not able to see the screen. I'm gonna try to do my best and look through a lot of what we're discussing. So if there is more trades you want to discuss as I'm doing these, let me know. But I'll go ahead and look at the Utah Jazz, and John Collins is 26.5, which if you're thinking about trades, it's all about what they have this year, right? So he has another year left. Then you have 18 million for next season. Right. So then we have to go back over here. So we got to figure out if you have 26 and 18, who do we come off of? So you're 100% coming off of Kennard because he's got 9.2 and you have to come off of somebody else that's got some money, and Marcus has got the most money. So if you come off of Marcus and Luke, you still don't have enough money to get John Collins and Colin Sexton. So at that point, what do? You can send. Let's say we just send overall, we send John Conchar. It still fails. Okay. These two are making too much money for it to make sense. So
that's sad.
So in all honesty, you have to give up a guy like BC as well just to go get him to make that make sense. And so The only way to make it make sense is if you can give up at least probably Smart, Clark, and Kennard. And you might be able to do Smart, Clark, and Conchar. I haven't looked at it that way, but either way, you got to be able to give up enough like that.
Yep. Obviously something you'd want to think about, but I'm not saying no off the bat to doing that.
Okay.
For being honest, I'm not straight up saying no. BC is tough because he obviously brings like a dynamic aspect to this team. He's super athletic still, even after the Achilles injury. There's, lots of good things he does. He is also extremely one-dimensional, and this is where the question comes in. Does Collins give you everything BC gives you? Plus, he's more versatile defensively and can stretch the floor.
Yeah.
Like Collins isn't getting played off the floor in any matchup, right? And I think, BC defensively, which I don't think anybody would really know this, but I have traditionally been on Brandon Clark about his defense. I think he's gotten lost defensively a ton in the past. Like the team defense thing, he's constantly late on rotations. He hadn't done that almost at all this year. He's been night and day better. So I don't know, but at that point, do they become almost redundant? That's the reason I would say maybe off the bat. And I think Sexton is just like awesome, dude. Like, dude is just a bulldog and can light it up and can play point guard for you, do a billion things. And you want to talk about someone who's never going to back down?
Yeah.
Colin Sexton. So, like, I don't know. Maybe not, but like throwing BC in there plus Smart, I would not do Kennard. I wouldn't do Smart, BC, and Kennard. That means I wouldn't do all three of those guys.
Okay.
But if you take it to Smart, BC plus a Conchar, Laravia, whatever, I would talk about that for sure.
Okay.
Now, I don't know what Mitchell Robinson's contract is, but like, please.
Yeah.
I've been wanting Mitchell Robinson for like a year and a half.
Yeah, let's look at Cam Johnson real quick. He's 22.5. Marcus Smart is 20. So obviously that necessarily doesn't work. You could always send, and you could add in, a lot of these smaller ones of Jake LaRavia and stuff like that. And then at that point it does pass. So you could do that. You can go that direction with it. You can keep Marcus Smart if you want, which I don't know why they'd want to. And you can trade Luke Kennard. The problem is with that is you don't have enough money that you're giving up to be able to get that to actually make work, right? So you're still short by $9 million if you give up Luke plus Laravia, whoever. So you'd have to give up John Conchar, which is making $6 million. But I'm not saying you don't want to do that. But why would Brooklyn, 3 for 1 and it still fails? So getting Cam Johnson has to include a guy like Marcus Smart. So if we're looking at that one, just overall, which I'm fine with. The problem is like, which direction do you go? Who do you give up? Who do they want? And so I think you could easily have them flip in the offseason a guy like Marcus Smart. So they might get 2 for 1 in that. Let's look at your other one. You said Mitchell Robinson.
Yeah, I just looked at his contract, but I left the page and I forgot.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is what I deal with.
Hey,
Mitchell Robinson.
We're friends.
Mitchell Robinson, $14 million. So who do you want to give up for Mitchell Robinson? $14 million. Smart's at 20. BC's at 12.5. Luke's at 9.
You're not sending Smart for Mitchell Robinson, and you can't send BC for Mitchell Robinson. I wouldn't think. I don't think that's where you make that happen. I think you are sending maybe like a that's where your wing consolidation could come into play. But I don't know who you would send. You have to send someone that they actually want. So that's like Arabia is not on the cards. But listen, if you long term, this is something that's uncomfortable, but Vince and Wells probably get redundant for you. The only here's where it comes in. You only have one of them that's going to fit the timeline. Right, it's highly unlikely both those guys are long term for you. Like you want them in there to do the same thing.
But maybe they both cheap, though.
Maybe have to let them play out, being awesome and play above their contracts. But is it likely that they both play above their contracts and contribute real minutes for you? No, you probably need more veteran wing presence.
Yeah, but do you throw away the future a little bit to get, right now? Does it make sense? Like, because even then, Mitchell
Yes.
Robinson, I agree. I think he's really good, but the problem is like, does it make sense? So,
Yes.
um,
Yes. Because you're
all
not
right,
throwing away the future. You're throwing away a potential piece for the future.
correct.
Like, I mean, we've been talking about the future. Like, when's this team? When's the present? When's the team supposed to win?
Right.
I would argue right now. So maybe not. Like, it's tough because you don't really know which one you'd want to hang your hat on, I guess.
Yeah.
But truth is, both of them fill sort of the same role for you.
Yeah.
And the other, like, you could say, okay, they both can play wing, like, given times. You never have too many wings. But the truth is, you want vet wings taking a lot of those minutes. So, like I said, it's uncomfortable. I don't know how it plays out. It's not an easy decision to make, but it could be what makes it happen.
What are your thoughts on Kyle Kuzma?
I don't know, man. He like Kyle Kuzma is like everyone loves the idea of Kyle Kuzma. But I don't know if like the idea of Kyle Kuzma is the reality of what you get. If I'm being honest. Like I don't know. I don't know about Kyle Kuzma. Yeah. I don't think Kyle Kuzma is bad for sure. But like I also don't think he's good for sure. Right? Like, and I know like I've seen our guy Chris all about like these bad players on or good players on bad teams lately, but like Kyle Kuzma feels like he should be the guy that helps the Wizards not be bad, and he's never helped the Wizards not be bad. You know what I mean?
There's a different type of player, right? Like, so some players are built to, to be a positive upgrade because they're the leader and they're the best player on the team. Some players are really good, but as the best player on the team, it's not a good team. And so I think that he is like the fourth or fifth best player on a team that can really push the team over because he can shoot, he can rebound, he's fine defensively, he's never going to just wow you. But if I could just interest you in the Kyle Kuzma part of it. He's $23 million this year. It de-escalates over the next 2 years. It goes 21, then it goes to 19. So you get 2 extra years. You give up a guy in Marcus Smart who they eventually could flip again, right? So they get off of that contract. They again can eventually flip Marcus Smart for something in the offseason, and maybe they can make more out of this trade actually. But you could do that, throw in some, first round picks or whatever you need to do. And then you can get a guy that fills a hole and fills a need and makes you a little bit better. Like, I'm not saying he's a vet presence, but he can make you much better if you can't get the trade you really want to get. And I think he's the back. He could be a backup plan. Now, I wouldn't go get JV. I think JV's good, but I don't know why you'd want to go get JV. He doesn't fit this team. I think that he is really good if he would buy into the fact that, hey, I don't need the ball. All I want to do is rebound and kick it out. Now you're cooking. If you can get a screen setter in JV, a guy who only wants to rebound, doesn't care to score, I think you're okay. But I think, unfortunately, JV wants to score a lot. He's not, and he's doing that job for the Wizards. So if he would buy into that, if you could have that conversation, then yes, I think that Kuzma and JV could be exactly what you need. I just don't know if they would actually buy into that.
And here's playing devil's advocate for myself. I would have said the same thing about PJ Washington and Charlotte that I think about Kyle Kuzma off top of my head. But then you see what PJ Washington's become in Dallas, right? So like there's always the chance that could happen. I would still have him behind John Collins and Cam Johnson as far as wing upgrades. I would probably go Collins, Johnson, and then Kuzma / like a Jeremy Grant, So like you need it, but like I don't trust it, right? Like that's a gamble. That's a legitimate gamble. In a year where if you're making that move, it's to win now. So you actually are giving up stuff that needs to be used well. Right? That's not a Justice Winslow effort. Let's see what happens. So it could happen. That's why I'm saying. That's why I'm like, I really don't know, because I would have said the same thing about PJ Washington, and look what he's done at Dallas. Yeah. Hell, Nick Richards too. What he's doing, Phoenix.
All right, let me run this by you. You give me a 1 as the worst trade ever, or 10 as the best trade ever. Like a 10 would be a trade you would do 10 times out of 10, no questions asked. A 1, 0 chance in hell. Art wants to know if you do Bane and LaRavia for RJ and Bruce Brown.
No. It said 1 is I would absolutely do it, or 1 is
no. 10s you would do it 10 times out of 10. 1 is the worst trade you've ever seen in your life.
I'll give it a 3. It's not the worst trade I've ever seen in my life by a long shot. Call Minnesota. They've done a few of those.
My God.
But it's no. I see a bunch of people hating on Bane. Like, he wasn't one of the few people that made some shots tonight and has been like, he had the one slump, but he's been consistently good for you. Now, you got to quit throwing the damn ball to the sidelines. Like, if the fans aren't in a Grizzlies uniform, like if they are in a Grizzlies jersey, it is a replica. I promise you it is. Like, you got to quit throwing the ball to the replica jerseys. Yeah. But at the same time, Bane's been fine.
Yeah, I would not get rid of Bane unless it was a legit guy, because Bane does fit us, Astronomo. I think Bane does fit Ja. Yeah, I think he really fits Jaren as well. I think that when you need a lot of things to happen, you need somebody to go get a bucket. Bane's been that guy. So I know people might not like him. They might be out on him. Bane's played really well. Like, he's been one of the more consistent players as of late. You do have to trade something against him. The problem is RJ is not your answer. RJ is not. Bruce Brown's definitely not your answer. So if you trade Ja, Jaren, or Bane, okay, we're talking about Bane. If you trade any one of those guys, but mainly Bane, we're talking, you have to get somebody as a cornerstone of this team, because Bane's already a cornerstone of this team. Unless it's a guaranteed upgrade, there's no way that you send anybody out. Jaren has shown that he is 1A, 1B. Ja in the past has shown that he's 1A, 1B. But I just don't see there's any way possible that they would make that move to get off of Bane, unless it's to somebody that's a proven vet, somebody that's a proven winner, and none of these guys that are available would happen. So
Bane's tonight. Ed, you crazy. Okay, we got more questions I think worth talking about here. But Alan, first off, you've been in the show far too much to not know Deuce McBride is awesome, because that agenda has been going since he was at West Virginia on this show. Deuce McBride, dude, he's amazing. Like, yeah, would love him as a Grizzly as well. But come on, Alan. You come here far too often to not know Deuce McBride's awesome. I've been spreading the gospel for years.
No doubt. We do have a lot. Also wants to know, curious about Brandon Ingram. Let me cook up this trade a little bit. I don't know why. Here we go. All right, I'm back to normal. All right, so I'll cook it up a little bit as you maybe talk through it. My sources have told me that the Brandon Ingram is done with the Grizzlies. That conversation's done. At first, there was conversations. They asked about him, and there were conversations on who they would send. I don't know exactly. I was never privy to the people that they would send, but I know that they called and asked about him. And so with that, he's making $36 million. Let me look and see if he's in an expiring contract. So the only way I think they were trying to do is get off of Smart and Kennard at that point. I don't even think that gets you there.
No, it doesn't. Ingram makes way too much money.
It does pass because they can take on more money. And so it gives them $30 million to his $36 million. So the Grizzlies take on more money at that point. So Smart it was Smart, Kennard, and somebody else that was being thrown into that is the initial conversations. But yeah, so from my understanding, they said no more on that one just due to his injury, but also the expiring contract and all that. So but yeah, Austin, that's the only thing I've heard. I have not heard anything else since then.
I also, no matter what, I've never been in on Ingram. Like, he's kind of like off-brand KD, and with this team, if you bring in Brandon, you might as well abandon ship on Ja Morant. Like he becomes another mouth to feed. Like he needs the ball in his hands. He's an ISO scorer. And so I was like, okay, are you playing him next to Ja Morant?
Yeah.
No. Ja Morant is not built for your turn, my turn basketball.
Correct.
Ja Morant is built to be like the center of, like he is the sun. He is the sun of your team when he is on the floor. And then when all the planets start to collapse on the sun from the other team, he dishes it out to you and he facilitates and gets everybody else going. It's what we talked about at the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
Ingram's another mouth to feed, needs the ball in the hands. And like, I don't know. I've heard people talk about like how he's like a playoff performer, and I don't know. I don't remember ever seeing that. Am I crazy? Have we ever seen him perform in the playoffs? That's been an argument I've seen for him. And I legitimately am just like,
I know that. I believe it was last year or the year before that he played really well in the playoffs, but I think it might have been just one series. I think they took out somebody in the play-in, I believe, and then he had a decent series the next series. But overall, I haven't seen him just throughout a playoff run. I have not seen that at all, which we haven't seen that at the Grizzlies either. And so that's hence why we're trying to add somebody that has a little bit of playoff experience. But
either way, it's all about building up your best players, and like you can just bring in a bunch of talent, but you need to make sure it works. And for anybody who thinks you just bring in talent and it works out, like look at Minnesota this year.
Right.
Like Dante DiVincenzo's talent. Now, granted, they were crazy for sending Cat out for that. Like it's in no world was that gonna pay dividends, even if it performed like as best as they possibly could. But like it's not like Julius Randle isn't talented, Dante DiVincenzo isn't talented, but like look at what's happening for them around. Like it doesn't fit Anthony Edwards.
Yeah.
It's been a mess.
Yep.
You know?
Yep. No doubt. All right. Well, the Grizzlies did lose to the Knicks tonight. Jack City. There's your shout out, sir. But overall, Grizzlies did look bad. We do have a couple more things I want to get to before we get out of here. These are probably the last things we have. One, I know somebody just asked about Valanciunas. Just briefly talked about that. Valanciunas, I think he's a great player. I think he's actually a decent fit. The problem is does he want to score? So if he wants to score, that's a problem. But Robert Williams is a doable guy that the Grizzlies could get. I want to look at his contract real quick. So it's the Grizzlies and the Portland Trailblazers. And this will be next to last one we go through. But the Portland Trailblazers, let's see what Robert Williams makes. $12 million. At that point, you can trade out pretty much a combination of guys. You could trade out, a Jake Jitty combination of some sort and get somebody like that back. Looks like he has one more year left on his contract for $13 million. That'd be fine. I'd be okay with it. He'd be better than kind of what we currently have. And so I would be, I'd be okay. Lauren wants to know, can we even afford Jonas? Yes, we can't afford the Jonas brothers, but we can afford Jonas for sure. He only makes like $10 million a year. So we can definitely afford him. But he does have 2 more years after this, which is an issue.
Hold on. I get trashed about Mitchell Robinson injury history, and then someone's bringing Robert Williams in here. Granted, it was Art, and me and Art do agree about a lot of this.
Well, he's playing right now. That's the other reason. The only reason I brought him up is he's actually playing. Like that guy is actually playing.
Yeah, Mitch Robinson's coming back though. It's gonna be soon. And all y'all gonna remember.
All y'all.
All y'all.
All y'all. All right.
All y'all question. Gonna remember.
Black and DJ one. He just got here like 10 minutes ago. So thanks for hanging out with us. You might want to go back and watch the very first part. It was a lot more fired up. Legit question though: is there someone on the trade market that is legitimately would make a difference on this team? This will be the last thing we go against. And I know that you're talking in general about John Collins. Is John Collins the guy that you think makes a big difference for the Grizzlies?
Him and I think Mitchell Robinson makes a difference. The injury history, in all seriousness, the injury history is a factor, right? Like that's something you worry about. But if Mitchell Robinson is on the floor, like, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely makes a difference for you.
And I see Knicks fans saying Mitchell Robinson's not going anywhere, staying home. Listen, I don't know where Mitchell Robinson's from, but I don't think it's New York. But even if it is, they don't care about Mitchell Robinson. Your coach does not care about Mitchell Robinson. I think he'd be fine. I think they can go. I think they could trade and upgrade off of Mitchell Robinson. So I think that we could. The Grizzlies could get a Mitchell Robinson. The problem is like, what would the Knicks want from the Grizzlies? I don't know if the Grizzlies have what they would want on their roster, because the Knicks only play literally 7 players on a consistent basis. And I don't think that they have a vet other than Marcus Smart that they would want, but I think they have enough Marcus Smart on that team. I think they need a little bit of something different. And so I don't know what in the world they would actually want for New York. I think they had to bring in a three-team trade to even make that and facilitate that trade. But overall, I do think that I think Mitch Robinson would be good. Robert Williams would be fine, but I do think that we need a guy that, and I've said this many times, crazy eye Bobby Portis, I think would be a great get for the Grizzlies. I really do think he would be. If there was somebody number one on my list, it'd be Cam Johnson, because I think he's what the Grizzlies need in the starting lineup. But if I had a 2, like I asked you earlier, my second guy would be Bobby Portis. I'd figure out a way to get into the trade package that if they're gonna put on the put up for trade somebody like Bobby Portis, I'm gonna somehow be involved in that. So at that point, I would get Bobby Portis. So give me Bobby Portis and Cam Johnson. I'm cool with that.
You're never gonna get me to disagree about getting crazy eye Bobby on a Grizzlies jersey.
Yeah, look at that. See, even Art.
We're all in agreement. We're all in agreement.
Bobby P.
Dog, if you got Bobby Portis and John Collins, I'm not sure you have the talent to win a championship, but you for sure got the psycho to win a championship. I'm all about that.
All psycho. Yep. Yeah. And honestly, we'll end on this one, Austin. Just do anything at this point. Just do something. My God. Like, it's just been.
It's going to be okay, Austin. We're in this together.
Yeah, we'll end it together. But we'll be back Thursday. We went a little bit longer. It was a earlier start, so we were actually able to spend some more time on it. Plus, this was our biggest show of the year so far, and I know a lot of people turned in from the Knicks side. If you're watching this, if you're a Knicks fan, thank you for kind of hanging out with us and listening to us kind of honestly go through our misery. Yeah, go through our misery.
Ass whooping.
Yeah. You got to enjoy it. You get to look at us fans just kind of going through it. But it was this show is probably better than the actual game, in all honesty, because we got out some stuff. We as Lauren says, practice some breathing exercises. But overall, the Knicks kicked the Grizzlies' tail tonight, just from the start. I know it was a game at the end of the first, but at halftime, it was an 8-point game, and it felt like it should be a 28-point game, the way the Knicks were playing, the way the Grizzlies were playing. And then it was a 28-point game very, very quickly.
All right.
That's it. Good night overall. What you got?
Just real quick, if anybody wants to come, Knicks fans, you're welcome to come with us. Come on back. It's a lot of fun over here, even if you don't care about our team. Anybody who wants to, make sure you put it in the chat before the show starts. Go get you a bottle of this. And in celebration or in despair, we will share some Blade and Bow glasses together. We're going to drink together as a chat, as a family. New York guys, you can come be part of our family for that. But let's just all join together, and hopefully it's for good reasons. Just come on for it.
All right. Well, I'll have one next. I'll have one Thursday night. Thursday night,
cheap bottle.
I'm almost certain. Yeah, I have a game for my daughter Penelope, who's our bear back there. Ja Morant career. We have a basketball game, but I know I should be able to catch, I think, majority of all the games. So we'll be back here for Thursday night. That's a late start, actually. Just thinking about that. Let me get to it real quick. Sorry, delaying the inevitable. 8:30 start. Okay, everybody. 8:30 start. It's a home game, right? So this will be 11 o'clock start for the show. So it will be a late night. If you don't, come and hang out. We would love to kind of hang out with you. You hang out with us. We'll definitely be pouring one out one way or the other on Thursday night. So do us a favor. Come join the fun. But that's it. That's all we got. This is the Grizz 901 post-game show. We are live after every single weekday game. And I'm Daniel, and that's Nate. And so we'll be here Thursday night, roughly 11 Central. It's going to be a late night, but it's going to be a good night. But we'll see you all next time. Be nice and tell your friends.